It is May the 10th, and we're going to have a special meeting here. We do have three entities, the Tuolumne County Board of Supervisors, Sonora City, and TUD, so I was told that we'll have to all open up our own meetings. But with that being said, do I need to do that now, or can I do the pledge? Does it matter? Do it now. Okay. So that being said, Tuolumne County Board, we're going to do roll call, and so we will start District 1. David Goldenberg. And 2. Campbell. 3 is right here. Kirk. Supervisor Half and Supervisor Brandon. Thank you. All right, so I'm going to hand it over to the mayor. Where is he? There he is right there. Matt Hawkins, if you would open up your meeting.
Okay, there we go. Okay, so I'd like to call this meeting to order. And Councilmember Garaventa? Councilmember Such?
I just got a text that she's almost here.
Okay, so she'll be just a couple minutes late. Mr. Mayor Pro Tem? Here. And then Councilmember Sagestrom? Here. And then I am here. So I guess we pass it off to TUD.
Yep.
Thank you, Matt. Okay. Okay, now it's in. Okay, thank you. I'd like to call this meeting to order for TUD. And we'll start with Director Kearns. Here. Director Boatwright. Here. Director Murphy. Here. Is Director Ringen available? Is he on Zoom? There he is.
Here.
Okay. All present.
All right. Okay. Great. Thank you, guys. Okay, before we start, we're going to have City Council Member Mark, please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, Clerk of the Board, would you please read the public participation procedures?
Okay, bear with me. During the board meeting, citizens who wish to provide public comment will be invited to do so by the board chair. Citizens who are physically present will be called first. Citizens who are not present and wish to provide remote public comment via Zoom may use the raise hand feature on their computer or press *9 if participating by phone to enter the queue. The moderator will read the last 4 digits for phone-only participants in lieu of a name. Zoom webinar via your computer at https://tuolumne-ca-gov.zoom.us/a3330990337 and or phone only at 1-720-707-2699 with webinar ID 833-3099-0337. Note, Zoom webinar services tends to have a reduced broadcasting delay in comparison to the county website and Access Tuolumne live stream, and is suggested for the closest to real-time viewing and listening. Options for public access audio and video live streaming. The public will not have access for public comments via these media options. They are for audio and visual only. Option 1, Tuolumne County website at www.tuolumnecounty.ca.gov/board-meetings. And option number 2, access Tuolumne County at www.accesstuolumne.org by clicking Watch Live and or Comcast Cable 8. Important public notice, pursuant to AB 361, members of the Board of Supervisors can participate by teleconference. Accessibility requirements. If you need SWIFT special assistance during the board meeting, please call 209-533-5521.
All right, thank you. And with that being said, would you please read our 2 o'clock appointment?
2 p.m. presentation on the acquisition and transfer of Pacific Gas and Electric owned water rights and facilities to the Tuolumne Utilities District.
Okay. I'm going to hand it over to TUD, and then for anybody who's in the room or on Zoom who wishes to participate with public comment, we're going to do the presentation and discussion first, and then we'll open it up to the community for any participation. So That being said, TUD.
Well, with that, I'm just going to turn it over to our general manager, Don Perkins, for the presentation. But it's really a pleasure to be here with everybody. I'm looking forward to this joint session. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, everybody. Thank you, Supervisor Kirk and Board of Supervisors for hosting us today for this important meeting. Mayor Hawkins and the Sonora City Council members, President Balin, our TUD Board of Directors, and everybody else in attendance. We appreciate the opportunity to speak with you today. This is an exciting time. As Kathleen Half just mentioned, I am bursting at the seams to give you this information, so thank you. The purpose we're here today is to give you an update on the work we have done thus far with the acquisition of PG&E-owned portions of our water system. I'm joined today by my team. You'll recall that we retained Raf Tellis to help us study the impacts that this acquisition would have on our rates. A little later, my finance director, Steve Sheffield, will come up and share a little bit about the analysis that Raf Tellis has performed. First, I'm going to tell you a little bit about who I am. Some of you know me, but not most of you. So I have lived up here most of my entire life. I spent 30 years in water resource management. I spent every 30 years right here in Tuolumne County. In that time, I've grown to love the public service life and work I do. I have served my grandparents in this time, my parents, my brothers, my children, their cousins, and now my grandchildren, and hundreds of other close friends and relatives. So just to tell you that this means an awful lot to me. I take great pride and I get great understanding of the decisions that we make today and how it impacts our community. In 2017, PG&E approached TUD to let us know that they were going to divest themselves of these major assets within our water system. They dubbed us as the natural owners, if not PG&E. Since then, PG&E and TUD have worked close together to make sure that we come to an agreement that is both beneficial to TUD customers and PG&E customers. So almost 30 years ago, TUD was formed by the voters of Tuolumne County. They merged together two systems. There were many other systems or districts, but the two major ones were the Tuolumne Water System and the Tuolumne Regional Water District. TUD has been providing water services now to more than 44,000 people and residents and visitors to Tuolumne County for over 30 years. TUD is a special district. Special districts have precise rules and regulations that we are required to follow. Special districts are owned by the people. A special district is not a private agency. We cannot turn a profit, but we are responsible to be financially sound so we can safely and reliably serve our people. Most sectors of our economy rely on water. Without a solid water supply, our economy would suffer. The water we rely on comes from a complex system starting at elevations over 9,000 feet. The South Fork of the Stanislaus River is the watershed is only 67 miles. Parts of the system date back to the 1850s gold rush era. You know, we don't think about how we get our water as we go about our daily lives, hectic as it can be, shuffling kids to and from school or sports programs or dance recitals or what have you. So we don't really take the time to think about where this water comes from, but the fact is we really shouldn't take the water itself for granted. All of the precipitation that falls into Tuolumne County belongs to entities outside of this county. We're the only county in California that doesn't have its own water rights. TUD owns and operates approximately 70 miles of its own raw water infrastructure, ditches, canals, tunnels, pipes, flumes. We also manage 11 water treatment plants. We currently have 66 storage tanks and a distribution system of about 320 miles. I needed a drink of water. So here's a chart that will help me illustrate to you just how this water that falls in the mountains finally makes it to your tap, your school, or your farmland. In the wintertime, snow falls or precipitation falls in the form of snow or rain. In the spring times, the snow melts, the rivers surge. We impound some of that water behind dams such as Pinecrest and Lyons. Some of that water is diverted to the Phoenix Powerhouse, where electricity is produced and sent to the grid. Later, we take the water into our own raw water system. And then again, we treat it, we send it to one of our 11 water treatment plants where it's purified. We send it to one or more of 66 storage water tanks where it sits there and is ready for your use. Most water utilities own this entire system. As you can see, PG&E owns the raw water collection and storage portions of the system, while TUD owns the treatment and distribution portions of the system. Specifically, PG&E owns Pinecrest, Lyons, the Tuolumne Main Canal, and a FERC hydro project called the Phoenix Hydro Plant. Beyond the physical assets that PG&E owns, they also own very, very valuable water rights. In fact, one of them is dated 1851. It is the oldest water right on the Stanislaus River. For TUD in Tuolumne County, the water rights is where the real value is. Having rights to the water system increases our reliability and security. This is the reason why Mark Twain said, whiskey's for drinking and water's for fighting for. Here's a map of our watershed that'll help me kind of show you what's what. So outlined in blue is the portion of our watershed that we benefit from. Like I said, only about 67 square miles. You can see Pinecrest Lake, Lyons Reservoir, the water rights to the South Fork River, the Tuolumne Main Canal, Phoenix Powerhouse. For perspective, you can see the Phoenix Lake down there. Let's take a few minutes, if you would, we can show you a little video here that will help set us up for the next part of our presentation.
Water has always defined opportunity in Tuolumne County. Then and now.
That's having a flourishing environment, that's having a flourishing economy. All those things for us, it all depends on water.
But despite plentiful water resources, Tuolumne County owns not a single drop of water. Almost all of it is sent somewhere else. This is one of the only, if not the only, places in California that doesn't have water rights.
And I think early on that we gave some of those rights up. If we could go back, we definitely would be, it would be way different. San Francisco water would be way different.
Our water history is a complicated tangle of court battles and missed opportunities. We want more water. A headline from 1920 rings true today, and the chance to secure it is finally within reach. The Tuolumne Band of Miwok Indians lived in harmony with this land for thousands of years, caring for the natural resources they relied upon for survival.
So they would have protected it, they would have lived off of it, they would have nurtured it, and they were also very dependent off of it.
In 1848, the discovery of gold changed everything. As prospectors flocked to the area, the Tuolumne Water Company rushed to harness local waterways. They hand-dug and built hundreds of miles of gravity-fed canals and flumes to send water to the gold fields. It is that same remarkable system that's used today by the Tuolumne Utilities District to supply water to homes and businesses. Agriculture thrived as the gold rush flowed, with the first irrigation water coming from abandoned ditches. But in the early 1900s, outside interests sought control over the Stanislaus River. The predecessor to Pacific Gas and Electric acquired some of those valuable water rights. The new Strawberry Reservoir was built, and Lyons Reservoir was expanded. In the 40s, another local water district was formed, an unsuccessful attempt to secure water rights. In 1992, TUD was formed. Still, to this day, the county has no water rights of its own.
We can't change the past, but we can definitely change the future.
That is what's at stake. Control over our water, our future. TUD is exclusively negotiating with PG&E to acquire the water system that serves our area. Pinecrest Lake, Lyons Reservoir, the Tuolumne Main Canal, Phoenix hydropower facilities, and ironclad water rights that predate the Civil War. If TUD doesn't acquire the system, someone else will, clouding the future of our water supply, a gamble nobody wants to take. Significant challenges are looming. We face extreme droughts and rising fire danger in an area one state study recently listed as the highest risk in California.
We have seen over the last decade that the fire seasons are getting longer. They start earlier, they last later into the year. The fact of the matter is we're seeing a changing environment. We're relying on TUD to provide Columbia Air Attack Base the water that we need to be able to provide the initial attack resources spread throughout the Sierras. We're here to protect the watershed. It's a phenomenal ability for Tuolumne County to finally have control over their own destiny, over their water source.
Owning our water would support every aspect of life as we know it in the county. It's an opportunity for the community to have a voice, to provide for our future, while preserving our heritage, locally controlling our water supply, a prospect we can't afford to pass up.
So since 1983, Tuolumne County and now TUD have benefited from an agreement by which PG&E was going to deliver the county and TUD free water, free raw water, at no charge. Well, the days of free water in Tuolumne County are coming to an end, regardless whether TUD or some other entity owns this system. This brings us back to the opportunity that we have before us to secure local control of reliable water supplies that benefit Tuolumne County residents for generations to come. TUD is negotiating with PG&E to acquire the PG&E-owned portion of our water system and plus those valuable water rights. What are the benefits to the community and our customers? First in time, first in right. Tuolumne County currently has 0 water rights. This is an opportunity to always be at the front of the line to secure critically important water supplies for our customers for now and into the future. If TUD acquires the system, this means no other entity or investor outside the county could acquire these assets and manage it in a way that's inconsistent with our values or interests. TUD will manage the FERC license while balancing a variety of uses in addition to water supplies, such as power generation, cultural and environmental resources, recreation. As we can all see, we're in the midst of another drought. Droughts are going to be a part of life here in Tuolumne County in California. Climate change is right upon us. We can't deny that anymore. In 2019, Tuolumne County was listed as the #1 county at risk of wildfire. With that ever-increasing threat, this acquisition will improve our ability to safeguard the region. As with most opportunities, this one comes with some costs. Acquiring water system means we would take on the costs associated with operating and maintaining the system, including a FERC hydro project. For the last 2 years, TUD and Raftellus have been studying the impacts this would have on our rates. We've been doing our due diligence. We've turned over every stone, looked around every corner, looked at the horizon. We now know that our expenses are going to increase by about $4.5 million per year through 2027. This means TUD will pay more for their TUD customers will pay more for their water, both raw customers and treated water customers. This is a tough pill to swallow, we get it, but we truly see this as a worthwhile investment. Let's add the benefits I just mentioned to the other side of the ledger. Here's how we see it. TUD customers at the front of the line for water that's under local control with the ability for greater flexibility and the ability to mitigate against wildfire risk and drought. These are the reasons why we believe the investment is worth the investment. So how will this system impact our finance and in turn our customers? As I mentioned, we hired Raftellus, an experienced firm, to help us study our finance for this acquisition. Now I'd like to invite Steve Sheffield, our finance director, to help us present the financial piece of this acquisition. Steve?
Good afternoon, everyone. Steve Sheffield, Finance Director for Tuolumne Utilities District, and I'm very happy and thankful that you all took the time to be here today. This is very important to our community, and the more people we can get involved, the better. So Don's asked me, as he mentioned before, we've been working with Raftellus, our financial planning consultant, to assist us. And so I just have a handful of slides to kind of cut to the financial numbers. Bring in the bean counter. You know, that's me. So TUD hired Raftellus, and I apologize, I can't really see a screen. So Abby, if I get out of sync, yell at me. But TUD hired Raftellus to take district data and build a model for how rates will be impacted should these assets be acquired. Put simply, the district needs an average of $4.5 million in additional revenues each year. So how do we exactly get there? The model considers the cost TUD anticipates incurring to operate and maintain the water system acquired from PG&E. It also builds responsible reserves totaling $1.5 million by 2027. This is important cash on hand to pay for necessary expenses and to enable a speedy response in emergencies. We also considered the hydroelectric revenue from the Phoenix Power Plant that will contribute modestly to the bottom line each year. Add this all together, and TUD's rates need to collect that average of an additional $4.5 million each year. Having seen the big picture of the financials, I'm pretty sure everyone's wondering what changes TUD customers can expect to see on their bills. So given that the vast majority of TUD's accounts serve single-family residential customers, we are using our typical residential customer as an example in the upcoming slides, even though all treated and all raw water customers will see an increase in their bills. But first, a couple notes and reminders for everyone. As a recap, how TUD calculates its residential customer bills. First, there is a fixed charge, which is a flat fee charged each bill and is the same no matter how much water a customer uses. Note also that this includes the first 800 cubic feet of water used each 2-month billing cycle. The 100 cubic feet measure is something common in the water industry, but for those who prefer gallons, 100 cubic feet of water equals approximately 748 gallons. So the fixed charge our customers receive right now is roughly 6,000 gallons of water per bi-monthly bill. The second part of customer bills is the quantity rate, which is the amount of water used. So the more water a customer uses, the more they are charged. You'll see in the following slides that customers pay $3.40 per 100 cubic feet of water after the first 800 cubic feet. Add these two elements together to get a customer's total bill. Our next slide puts numbers into this formula on a monthly basis regarding the proposed increase. So again, we're showing you an example of a typical treated water customer's monthly proposed increase. The current monthly fixed charge right now is $64.50. One more, Abby, thank you. Incremental increases each year are proposed starting September 1st, 2022 through September 1st, 2026. And the numbers here are shown are cumulative. So meaning the incremental increases, the first year would be $16.87 a month. The next year would be $6.23 a month. 2024 would be $1.59 per month. 2025, $1.44. And 2026, $1.68. So all total, we're talking about a proposed increase by the time we get 5 years down the road of $27.81. This would equal the new proposed fixed charges that you see. Then you would add any additional quantity rate on top of that for additional water use over the allotted, in this case, monthly would be 400 cubic feet. Again, you can see the quantity rate is not changing. You know, quantity rates dictated by the season, by the yard, by the number of people, conservation, temperature, a whole host of factors. So the quantity rate, again, just to confirm, is not changing. It's just the fixed rate that is proposed for an increase. And last slide for me before I turn it back over to Dawn is I want to kind of be perfectly clear with the group that the customer types contribute proportionately. So this proposed increase would go into effect for treated water customers. It'd be in effect for raw water customers. For those of you who aren't aware, right now we have approximately 14,000 treated water customers and we have 600 raw water customers. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Okay, so when this became clear to me what we were talking about, I was curious as to what our rates compared to other neighboring agencies around us and their rates. So as you can see, currently our rates are a little below the average, and these proposed new rates will be about average. Before I talk about what's next, I'd like to just take a moment and sum up the opportunity at hand. One, PG&E approached TUD in 2007 and said they will divest themselves of this system, right? If it wasn't going to be TUD, it will be somebody else. Two, free water will come to an end, regardless of who owns the system, whether it's TUD or not. Local control of this water supply and long-awaited water rights to Tuolumne County. I'll wrap it up here real quick and take a look at what's coming up. First part of this communication and outreach and information gathering started with some public outreach where we contact many of you out there to get an idea of what was important to you. What was important to you about water supply, current? What was important to you about the possibility of acquiring this system? And through that, we were able to, I feel, answer and address all of your thoughts and your concerns through this outreach. So yesterday we had a special TUD board meeting where we brought this draft rate plan to them for their consideration. Today we're bringing it to you for the same consideration. We've scheduled 3 open houses in June, and we look forward to those opportunities to meet with you and the rest of the public to continue to share information, get their thoughts and their ideas. The important thing is we want us all to make this decision together, but each one of you can make up your own minds. On the 24th, we will present the final rate plan to this board, and I'll ask their approval to mail the Proposition 218 notice. On July 19th, we'll host a public hearing where TUD board will vote to adopt or reject Raftelis' recommendation. If they are adopted, the rates will go into effect on September 1st. We want the community to play an active role in this process. This presentation is just one part of a larger outreach program. Our goal is to freely discuss the challenges, opportunities, costs, trade-offs, and the costs of inaction so our customers can make up their own minds. We welcome your input as we move forward. Once again, thank you again for this opportunity. Thank you, Supervisor Kirk and Tuolumne County for housing us here today. The City of Sonora, TUD board members, audience. This is a big deal, so I'm happy to have shared this with you. We have I'm going to turn this over to Supervisor Kirk. It's his board meeting, but we do have some people here in the audience, some experts, to answer some questions. So, thank you.
All right, Don, well, thank you for that presentation. And I just kind of want to remind everybody in here and also anybody on Zoom, this is a presentation only, and as you stated, and I really appreciate your presentation is really clear to the point, but there's going to be a lot of opportunity for the community to engage, and as you guys go out into the community, a lot of Q&As. So I just want to kind of keep that in mind so we don't maybe drown out too much time. I know we're scheduled till 4 o'clock today, but today I do want to open it up specifically to the city, specifically to the county. If any folks in here have any questions of Don or TUD, this would be a really good time. I know that we've met before and we've had lots of questions, so maybe there'll be some similar ones today. But at this time, I just kind of want to, I think I'll look to the city, Mayor Matt Hawkins, if you guys want to, if you have any questions, and then we'll take it back to our board and have our board, give our board an opportunity to ask questions as well.
Question here in just a second, but I want to see if any of my council members had questions first. Councilmember Such.
Oh yeah, we're gonna use, we're gonna use a mic, so just stand by until the mic shows up. Thank you.
Thanks, I always need a mic. I'm just curious what the risk factor is here, and has it been factored into this? What is the risk? Well, certainly maintenance of this aging equipment is a risk. And has that been factored into this equation?
Use this.
Sorry,
Let me see if I can answer your question.
thanks.
It's not clear, restate it. So, of course, we have done an extensive analysis of the system and continuing to do an analysis of the system. We spent the better part of 2 years, or our call back there spent the better part of 2 years trying to understand just what the maintenance of the system is going to be. It's important to know, right, that TUD already owns 70 miles of raw water conveyance systems that includes flumes, tunnels, canals. So we have, well, really hundreds of years backed up experience on just how to maintain these systems. We'll hire and retain new employees. We'll hire professional consultants that will help us with the dams. And of course, we'll hire some consultants that will help get us trained up on the operation and maintenance of the hydro facility. Is that clear?
Yes, thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem.
I could probably forego the mic, but it's better for the audience. So, Mr. Perkins, so let me first say that I'm 100% behind this. I think there is nothing more important for our county than this decision right now. But while I thought I was attentive, rates, if approved, would go up September 1. Is that before or after we would actually acquire the water rights? That was not clear.
Great question. You're right. I was not clear, and I meant to kind of sum it up. It was not in my notes. It occurred to me later that some of you who aren't in our meetings on a daily basis don't really understand this. No, it will take, we anticipate a final execution of the sale agreement by close at the end of this year, December. It will take a couple of years of transition period, like I mentioned, to get all these people and these consultants up to speed and in our house to help us.
But that would then presume that by the time TUD does vote to raise the rates and put them into effect, that it is a certain thing and not just looking forward to a hopeful future.
We're as certain as we can be, absolutely.
Okay. Well,
We're in close contact with PG. It's as certain as we can be.
okay, thank you. I think the public's going to care a lot about that.
Yes.
Especially if they're going to come around and support somewhat dramatically higher rates.
I think it's worth noting, again, we talk about this every day. The district has already spent $1 million, or about approximately $1 million towards this effort.
So we're talking about $4.5 million a year for the increased operating costs. Where's the money coming from to do the acquisition? Is that part of this? Is that some other possible rate increase?
Yeah, that's an important question, but unfortunately, as part of this exclusive negotiation, and PG refuses to let us talk about that. So.
Councilmember Sagesstrom, did you have anything? I do have a question. Thank you. So, this is for the public's knowledge. I'll be getting these questions, even though I explained to you earlier, and I know the rest of the council will get a lot of the questions too, along with the board. With the Pinecrest Dam, the Strawberry Dam, and the Lions Dam, both of those are hydroelectric dams, correct?
No.
Because I've gotten this, okay, so do either of those produce any electricity?
No.
Okay.
However, we do after it leaves the, the water makes its way out of lines through the Tuolumne Main Canal, and then there's a penstock off the main canal, heads towards Phoenix Lake. And before it gets to Phoenix Lake, it goes to a 1.8 megawatt power plant.
That's kind of where I'm going with this. So with that, is there a possibility in the future that either of those dams could be used for hydroelectricity?
Wow, you're out there in front of us, yes. Of course this county could choose to do something like that in the future. I think it's actually been studied. In my office, there are decades and decades and decades worth of studies and thoughts and analysis, and I know I've seen something along those lines there.
I'll be talking with you more about this. I've had this type of public discussion, and I'm like, no, you're talking to the wrong person. Well, it doesn't matter. I'm elected to an office, and, they're going to ask me. With this and some of the aging infrastructure, I mean, Pinecrest is well over 100 years old. How long before dam replacement at Pinecrest?
DSOD says it's in very, very good shape.
I'm going to bring this to you.
So, yeah. Eric Hall, our operations director, has spent, he's actually spent more than 20 years with PG&E working on their system, not on their system, but in and around their system because we naturally. Go ahead, Eric.
Yeah, so in conversations with DSOD, Division Safety of Dams, they're very confident in both dams. They're very old, but they're in very, very good shape. PG&E does an excellent job maintaining them, which the district will keep doing. So that's about that.
I'll just chime in for the group, because when this first came up 6-7 years ago, one of my biggest concerns, at that time we heard about the dam failure in Oroville, and everything was concerned there. And I was talking to Eric, and he assured me the same thing. But part of this whole conversation is this isn't just operating and maintenance. It includes creating reserves, and it includes creating the hydro revenue to come into there. And one of the things I said is that once we get to this point, we're going to need to have a 15, 20, or 30-year plan to really put aside reserves for this dam if we ever get to that point. But so far, everything in the analysis, everything that's been going to us, yes, it's old, but it's functioning. It's passing the Department of Dam Safety. It's doing this. We've looked at what PG&E is spending on a regular basis to update and maintain it and everything else. So your question's on point. I think that's definitely in the long-term picture, but in the short term, we're going to start creating a reserve now and then go forward.
Did you want?
Yes. Sorry, I've got a few more questions. I probably, Donna, probably should have said something beforehand, but with the acquisition of all this, and I'm 100%, I'm like the Mayor Pro Tem with this. I think that it's about time that we got our own water rights in this county. And we need to look back in history and see how those have been, given away or sold away or however that goes. With the increase in rates, it's going to be a hard sell to the public, as it should be. I mean, it's like raising taxes. It's never a good thing. With the rates going up and the maintenance and everything else, what will the public finally see? I know we saw a great presentation, but what's going to be the end result? Are we going to have cheaper rates in the future, or are we going to, cheaper rates in the future meaning beyond 2030, to where we can more control things ourselves, or are we going to just continue to look for continued rate hikes while we're trying to do fire mitigation?
Yeah, I think if Steve, you want to jump in, but the way I would answer that question is, well, first of all, we would be investing in certainty for Tuolumne County, right? There won't be or shouldn't be a third-party entity or investor that we have to work between to understand their costs before we can talk about our costs. So we should be able to control our costs. I can't say with any certainty we could be able to lower those rates or have something less than what we have now, but we certainly will have the ability, you all, as county residents or TUD customers, will have the ability to control rates. And I might add that if you need me and some others to come to one of your meetings to answer a bunch of these questions, you just ask and we'll be there.
I appreciate that. And then the very last question, with all of the flumes, the ditches, the tunnels, everything that we would be acquiring, what type of shape are all of those in? I understand the dams are in excellent shape. What type of shape are those all in?
I think I can speak for you. They're in good shape. They, you know, PG&E, I know you kind of, maybe you have a thought in your head when you think of PG&E, but locally, the flume, the dams, the powerhouse, they're all in excellent shape. They're in good shape. Eric has worked hand in hand with those folks for the better part of 20 years. We really understand what we're getting.
And then very last one, will any of this acquisition lead to any more logging in the county? Basically, where there's plots of land where there will be trees cut down, not only for fire mitigation, but, you know, other spots where more logging will happen.
I really haven't given that any thought. To give you an answer, that would be.
That's very fair, but that's a question I got, so.
Okay, well, let's get this thing.
It's not so much a question, but a point that everyone supporting this has to remember and because this is a public forum, that we're never going to get cheaper than free. Other people have been paying for our water for a long time, and whoever takes it over is going to have the same operating costs and future issues for any replacement or repairs. And the public needs to just bear that in mind, that if LA or Texas or Saudi Arabia entities buy this, it's always going to be more expensive for us. And we need to be in control of our water and our future. Otherwise, the county has no future. So, thank you.
All right, I'm going to open it up to our Board of Supervisors now for any questions. I'm going to start with Supervisor Haff.
Yeah. So I do have a question. You mentioned that for the purchase of the infrastructure and so forth, it would be over a series of 4 years, right? Did I understand that correctly? From 22 to 26?
What we showed you is the proposed increase over the next 5 years.
Right, but was that specifically for the purchase that you need to make?
Yeah, the calculation, the model is not so much the purchase as it is once we actually have this and we're up and running. Like Don said in there, we're already spending money on consultants. We're doing our due diligence, walking every ditch, analyzing that. So we're spending money now. We're going to continue to spend money through the negotiation. We're going to make this happen, so we're going to be hiring staff, training staff, getting equipment, doing that. So this money is not to acquire the assets so much, but to both finish off the acquisition and actually be able to run it as soon as we take the keys.
So my question to you is then what happens after those 4 years? Is it going to continue at the same rate or will it be reduced, or do you know?
Yeah, you know, that's an excellent question, and we run across that all the time. Somebody else talked about, will our rates go down or whatever? Well, I don't know about you all, but over the last 12 months, all our costs have gone up. Our material delivery has gone down. Our fuel cost, which is one of the number one costs we have other than labor, has skyrocketed. We haven't had a rate increase since 2020, and inflation's here. It's happened, and we're feeling those effects. So I'm hoping that we get this system. We know how to run this type of system. We're running 70 miles right now and doing a darn good job of it with what we're doing. So we're hoping we'll take over this additional 16 miles plus the actual water supply at Pinecrest and Lyons, and then we'll be able to do it. Every day we're trying to keep rates affordable. Every day we're looking how to deliver the highest quality, safest water that we possibly can. So this particular one is going to get us through the next 5 years. Typical rate increases, rate studies, they can't go longer than 5 years. But this is something we're going to watch every year and come back to our board and to the community and say, here's what our costs are. Here's what we're spending. Do we need this rate increase next year? Does it need to be different? Whatever. So I'd love to say I'm optimistic that the economy's turning around and inflation's going to stop and that sort of thing. But
Okay.
hopefully that helps.
Okay, that's fair. So thank you for that. And I have one other question. It's more of a clarification because I didn't quite get it. So I'm assuming that if I didn't get it, maybe others didn't either. And that is that you said something about the final sale being by the close of this year, but then something's going to take 2 more years. So can you kind of dig into that a little bit deeper?
Yeah, so the PSA, the purchase and sale agreement, right, that we're in exclusive negotiations with, we expect, TUD and PG expect that to be completed and signed by the end of this year. That's not the end of the work, though. There will be at least a 2-year transition period where we work closely with PG&E, some of our new consultants, some new employees to understand and how to operate from their perspective the system. That will take a couple of years, at least a couple of years to accomplish.
I look to any other supervisors. Supervisor Brandon, questions?
Yes. I failed to mention, you know, it's not going to be up to just PG&E and TUD and TUD's customers. It's also going to take regulatory approval, right? FERC and the CPUC have to sign off on this. So we have to demonstrate that we have the technical, managerial, and financial capacity. No, we do not expect it. Our consultants, one of our consultants has done this for a couple of other entities up and down the state of California, and he feels like we're in better shape with our capabilities than the others. So we feel like we can do this.
Great. Well, I want to start to echoing the mayor and the mayor pro tem, that this is something that I think the county does need to get behind. We don't control our water. When we're talking about drought and wildfire, we're talking about housing needs, economic development in this area. We are putting ourselves in a very precarious situation that is, I think, a lot too much reliant on fickle weather and sometimes state policymaking decisions and whoever ends up buying this. To me, that's the most salient argument, is that this is being sold. What if an investment firm comes in? Do we want to be an investment asset for another company or have it split up? I think most people would say we want to have local control and we would like to be able to manage that system. So my thanks to TUD for all the work in what has been, I'm sure, a gargantuan team effort on that. And if I may, still, I will have some questions about the fees, but I'm going to make a bad pun that it looks like a damn good deal done, and I appreciate that. A few questions in it. So one, what is the expected role for this to city and county, but the county in particular in this? So is this an informative presentation to the county, or will there be a kind of cost match expected coming up?
Short answer is no. No, there's not going to be a, you know, over the years, we've contemplated just how we're going to do this, right? And that would be one option. How could the county and TUD and the city and others, you know, contribute here? This board weighed all the options and elected to do it in this way. It was what we decided to do. There was another part to that question I wanted to address.
Just if there was a cost match to the county or other
This is what I
municipalities.
I wanted to make sure I said this at some point. I just sort of anticipated this question. How can the city and the county help us? You know, for years you have helped us with your infrastructure, your water and sewer infrastructure, by allowing us to use some CDBG funding. If we can continue to work together on that effort to help our systems, yours and our system, that would be wonderful.
And with that, are there any expected outside revenue streams, Aqua, Irwin, federal agencies, that will be eligible for this, or it really will 100% be locally funded?
In the near term, it is 100% locally funded.
Okay. I also had the same question too, and I wasn't quite clear on that. It's after, I think, year 5 in that, is that covering the cost of the acquisition of the assets, and then it's just the ongoing operations and taking the inflation comment absolutely into account there? Is that the amount to purchase the asset, or is that kind of an expected from here on out?
It will be the ongoing expenses, so beyond 2027 as well.
Okay.
We're just increasing, $4.5 million more than just, but we will be increasing our cost to do business by $4.5 million through 2027.
Okay. In my district, in particular, there's a lot of agricultural use, mentioned raw water versus treated water as well. That's going to be an equal impact on the cost there, is that correct?
I think the way to say it is proportional.
Proportional, yeah. Okay. That, and I think my only last question with it, a lot of folks in my district, we have a lot of fixed income seniors. We have a lot of RV parks. We do have a lot of working families, lower income housing areas. Thinking about that, this seems to be a fairly flat across the board fee, and there's no fee, I guess, for the larger water users. In addition, right, it's still at the $3.40. Was there any discussion or potential to look at something that is trying to ensure that those who, that $20 a month, that's taking their COLA, that's that type of a hit, are going to be accounted for in the system, whether it's a return to aid or some type of the quantity rate adjustment?
Yeah, I mean, that's a constant struggle with utility bill setting. You know, for us, back in 2020, the state said everybody should have quantity, 75% of your rate should be based on quantity versus fixed. Well, that's fine in San Diego where they buy their water and turn around and sell it. For us, about 80% of our costs are fixed, whether we turn on the faucet or not. And we have vacation homes, we have elderly, we have mobile home parks, we have downtown Sonora, we have Cedar Ridge, Ponderosa, such a wide variety. And so in 2015, when we did the rate study, that's when we decided to include this 800 cubic feet as a base living. We were going through a horrendous conservation drought at that time, but we felt 800 was something livable. And, you know, we want it to be affordable, we want it to be livable. So when we approached this, you know, this whole idea here is really not related to the quantity of water. You know, the PG&E and what they run does not matter whether you're using 2,000 cubic feet or 800. And so early on, the rate consultants recommended that we look at only doing a fixed charge. One, so it doesn't go down during conservation, and two, to do this. So then how do you most equitably pass that out to the customers? And again, there is, you'll see at the, when we get the final rate study, if just like our existing rates, break it down by meter size, and that's where the quantity really comes in. So somebody like a school district or whatever, now this additional increase does not affect those quantity charges. They stay as they are, and that's where we came up with this number, this $4.5 million spread across all our customers, our 15,000 customers, and do it. And that's the method the financial consultants came up with. That's what we're proposing as being most equitable now.
Okay, great. I really appreciate the answers there. I just say that's close to my heart, and if there's any way to make sure, because I think in bringing this to the public too, and when I'm going back to my district and advocating, that is going to be a difficult question to answer. What about the ones where that $20, you know, to me, I pay $20, it's a little extra, but it's a couple lunches, right? Trying to make sure we know the real impact that's going to have to them, and if there is any way to partner with ATCA, some of these agencies that have utility offsets, or if there's a way to, I think, make it, it's very equal, but equitable to those who this will impact most. Just begging the consideration of that, but I really do appreciate it.
All right, I'm going to look to Supervisor Goldenberg if you have any questions. Sure. And is Supervisor Campbell in the room? Did he leave? Okay. Just want to make sure I didn't miss him.
Okay, so thank you for the presentation. More information, but still not enough information, I guess is my thought. Understand the, looking at the rate increases, looking at how to fund certain areas. The acquisition cost, again, confirming this is going to be borne by TUD with no outside funding requests, or you mentioned that you were in negotiations and perhaps towards the end of the year we would have more information.
I'm just not at liberty to discuss that at all with you.
Okay.
But the cost that we're talking about is what we know the costs are going to be to our customers.
But those costs are for ongoing expenses more? I mean, to maintain the additional system. I believe you said 16 extra miles, was that correct?
16 miles of the Tuolumne Main Canal.
Correct. So, you know, when I look at it from different perspectives, you know, looking at, and I hear what you're saying, right? You've inspected, you've looked at the flumes, the dam, the powerhouse. They appear to be in good shape. But, you know, as we move forward, right, the flumes, and to me, you know, being involved in fire on the Fire Safety Committee, you know, when we look at the exposure of the flumes to fire, and I know that a lot of efforts have been taking place to mitigate, you know, those concerns. But, you know, I think Calaveras County, they learned a lesson, you know, because they had flumes that, you know, were taken out, and that proved to be very expensive. So I'm looking at the county, potential county exposure, you know, under those circumstances.
Yeah, and so, you know, I try not to speak in terms of or anything like that, but when I think about this, that exposure, those risks are gonna be there, whether TUD owns it or somebody else does, right? Walmy County TUD customers are gonna pay that bill, whatever that risk is.
Well, right now,
We can control it.
PG&E is going to pay that bill if it happens, right?
Until another entity owns it.
Sure.
Trust me, somebody else will own it. It will not be PG&E for long.
No, I hear what you're saying. It's just you know, so I get, you know, where we're moving towards this. I'm firmly in favor of having the water rights. It's a shame that we didn't have them a long time ago. Should have happened and didn't, but now we have the opportunity. But if something catastrophic happens, quite honestly, TUD would not be able to bear the cost. So who's gonna, where's that gonna fall upon? And it could easily fall upon the county is my concern.
Great question, and, you know, I think I half anticipated, that was the question I was expecting to hear from you. Director Balin, President Balin?
Yeah, those are good questions, Supervisor Goldenberg. And in the Darby fire, when the Utica Power flume burned down, they were able to get 100% reimbursable costs from FEMA. TUD, as a public agency, can qualify for FEMA. Right now, PG&E does not qualify for FEMA. They are not a public agency, or any other private for-profit owner would not qualify for FEMA. And so with the Utica, and I worked on it in the Forest Service, so we were able to rebuild that. It took a long time, but we fast-tracked it through the various federal agencies, but it was 100% reimbursed, those costs.
And I appreciate that response. I'm fairly familiar with FEMA and wildland fires. You know, if you have a disaster declaration that is given, then certainly, you know, costs can be paid for. Sometimes at 75%, can be higher under certain circumstances. But it's not a given, you know, that it would be happening here. If you had a small fire that just took out a section, it might not qualify for, you know, a FEMA declaration, you know, is the point. Let me look here on my notes. Yeah, you know, the dam safety portion, everybody thought Oroville Dam was fine, right? You know, and so catastrophic, I think it was 2017. Maybe I've got the date wrong, but I think it was 2017. You know, the unexpected, you know, happened. And, you know, again, that's where my concern, you know, would be from the county perspective is, so I'm not, you know, I'm cognizant and aware that, you know, don't want, you know, people to suffer rate increases that, you know, wouldn't produce something, but we are looking at something being produced here, right? If we get those water rights and the security in having that. So I'm okay on that perspective. I agree with Supervisor Brandon that, some people might not, they might have difficulties, paying that. But I'm really more concerned about the acquisition costs and the potential for liability that could fall back on the county. So.
I can appreciate all of that, but I think it was like Supervisor Brandon said, how would this county be situated differently if we made better decisions 100 plus years ago? Would we have enough reserves, funds in reserve to pay for this upgrade? Probably so. Today, it's painful. What's it going to be like 100 years from now when we have this thing? Probably a lot better.
I hear you, and I'm very much in favor of having good reserves. We on the county don't have near what we should have ourselves, so okay, thank you.
Okay. I have two questions, maybe a little bit of a comment, and then I believe from TUD, Ron Regan is on, so he may be able to answer some questions as well. But I'll ask my few questions real quick. Two things that I hear a lot about are, in the future, can you sell that water to help offset some of the costs? And then the second thing is, if rate increases are going to be going up, what about all the water that we're losing in the flume? Will we be shoring up the flume into the future as far as lost water? So those are the two questions I get a lot.
Two different questions, two good questions, important questions. As to whether or not we potentially could sell any excess water, of course, there are people who are money rich and water poor and would love to be in our position to purchase the system. So yeah, down the road, perhaps there might be an opportunity for that. When it comes to, I think what you meant, shoring up some of our flumes and ditches and canals.
As far as lost water.
Lost water, right. So, our flumes and ditches and canals, yes, we do spend a fair amount of money each year to do what we can to make sure they're efficient. Also, while trying to preserve their historical value. They provide cultural and environmental resources as well. So it's a balance, but yes, we have been spending money on those efforts and we will continue to.
And I think the only comment, I'm going to wait till Ron and then open it up for other folks. I know there's other agencies in the room. Thank you for the presentation. I'm big on charts. The below average to average spoke some volumes to me as far as, I think that's pretty important for people, including myself, to understand that we're potentially coming up to an average rate in California. CBDG, when you said how the county can support you. When Terry Cox retired, her last speech, when someone's on the deathbed and they say something, you listen. Yeah. And her retirement speech was, look, there's more funding in our lifetime right now for fire, water, and broadband. And that spoke volumes to me because I think somehow, some way, if we go down this path, and I've emailed you and reached out to you, whatever we can do to support when it comes to those fundings, we got to go after because there is more money in those areas than ever before. So I think we got to keep that front and center. And then what really nails it on the head for me, and again, I'm going to wait to hear from other folks because I know there's probably some great questions in here, but at the end of the day, a lot of the concerns, and as long as this is the fact, is like you stated, TUD is not a for-profit company. And that right there is really the key point for me is whether we had a mega fire and we lost the entire flume or we had a major dam break where for-profit wouldn't be eligible for FEMA funds, these rates are going to go up one way or another from what I understand. So I would rather it be not-for-profit and for use than to have somebody come and capitalize on our constituents and our people and make money off them. So that's a big piece for me moving forward. So those are my few questions, few comments. With that being said, I am going to open it up to, unless you have anything to say about that, I'm going to open up to Ron Regan. I believe he has some comments or questions. And then after Ron, I want to open it up to any other TUD board members. And then I know we have some folks in here from other water districts and the community, so we'll go down that path. And Ron,
Okay,
you
thank
are,
you.
there you go, you're on.
Thank you. Mr. Kirk. First of all, I think your last comments nailed it. And so I don't want to reiterate a whole bunch of things here, but I'm going to cover them really quick because I think that this conversation has been really good and productive and to the point. So I want to go back to President Balin's comments about the flames and their possible being burned up, taken down by or earthquakes or I mean landslides or whatever. FEMA will cover that. Thank God, if TUD owns it. If PG&E owns it or another entity for profit owns it, forget it. Rates, water rates. Let's get over this. I'm on a tight budget. I don't want to see rates go up. I'm going to have a hard time with it. But do I want an outside agency to take control of the PG&E infrastructure and those water rights? No way, because the rates will go through the roof. Right now, TUD is a nonprofit, locally owned entity, and they're not allowed to make a profit. They just have to stay financially fiscal in order to maintain their service for the people of Tuolumne County. So, my God, let's get over this rates thing. Steve Sheffield, Don Perkins, and the staff are doing everything they can to make sure that the rates stay as low as they can be for us ratepayers, which I am one. Free water contract. No such thing. No such thing. We're gonna pay for this thing one way or the other. Is this a deal for Tuolumne County and the city? Oh my God, it's beyond belief what a deal it is for the county and the city. It's water reliability well into the future for all of your, for you, your children, and your grandchildren. Why is this even a question? And then we come down to water reliability. Well, we don't know what that's going to be as we go into this unbelievable time of weather that we can't control. We have no way to predict or anything else. And if we are the first in line to get the water out of the South Fork Stanislaus, no matter how little there may be in there, how much better could that be? How much better could that be? I'm just going to have to throw this out here. Where during all of this process, TUD has been supporting this financially, has been the county and city support, when they're going to be the ones that are going to benefit the most by it. Just a question. Selling water. If indeed there is an ability to sell excess water over time to other entities in order to reduce the amount that the TUD ratepayers have to pay. Believe me, TUD's been all over this already and it's looking into it. And finally, let's stop talking about water loss from the flumes. The water loss is not a loss. It serves many purposes unless it's excessive. Let's talk about the water loss from the peripheral canal and all of that goes to Southern California. Come on. So I'm going to leave it there. Thanks.
All right, thank you, Ron. I'm going to open up to any other TUD board members and then to the public after that. So if there's any board members that want to make a comment.
Thank you, Vice President Jeff Kearns for TUD. I just want to make a couple comments here. This rate hike to finance this ongoing operation and maintenance. As you can tell with Don, his presentation, and Steve, and you know, we don't take this lightly. I can tell you, I believe I speak for all five of us. This is something that's weighed heavily on our minds, and we get it. I mean, I'm not looking forward to paying extra, but the benefit outweighs the cost, in my opinion, and I believe we're all on board on that. Local control, there's value in that. If another entity were to get this, if it's another public entity, downstream user, we don't have any control over that. If it's a for-profit entity that gets their hands on these, maybe even offshore, we're not going to have any control whatsoever on that. At least if TUD is successful, you folks can come down to our board meetings and get your hands around our throats if you need to. I know I intend to long after I'm off this board if future boards are being not watching out for the public benefit, and I expect everybody else to. And if there's one quote that Don threw up there today, and being a water guy for over 40 years here in Tuolumne County, it's the one that means the most to me, and that's first in time, first in right. And that's how water rights work in the state of California. California became a state in 1850, and the oldest right in this package goes back to 1851. So we truly would be first in time, first in right. Thank you.
Any other TUD members? All right, I had one City of Sonora councilman who wanted to ask a question, and then just that, and then we're going to go to the public because we want to hear from the public.
Yeah, a question I had that I just now thought of that I should have asked earlier. The PG&E right to use the water to go through Spring Gap for power, is that on the table or off the table as opposed to for all that, or?
The water that they use there during this time of year when we're in runoff, right now they have the right to take, but that water right will come with the whole system. And then we'll work stuff out down the road with the rest of it.
So that water right goes to?
It'll go with the district. Yes. Yeah, they're still gonna. Correct.
Okay. With that being said, I'm going to open it up to the public. If there's any questions, just raise your hand. And first of all, everybody meet Jessica. She's our newest employee for the board. So everybody give her a round of applause for running around. Nothing like your first meeting running around the room. So thank you. John Buckley.
No speech, just a question.
Sure.
So yesterday, TUD admitted that each TUD customer family on average over the next 5 years will end up paying a total of at least $1,000 extra in water bills to fund the takeover. So my question is, my understanding is PG&E was interested in divesting of the Phoenix project, Lyons, the main Tuolumne Canal, and the Phoenix Powerhouse. That's what was originally offered or suggested. And my question is is there the potential for TUD in order to reduce the cost of ratepayers to only purchase Lyons Reservoir, Main Tuolumne Canal, the Phoenix Powerhouse, and the Phoenix Project, instead of taking on the additional cost, which is significant, I'm sure, of of Pinecrest Lake, again, another 100-year-old dam facility that at some point will not be in as good a shape because PG&E has spent huge amounts of money maintaining both dams. So at some point will be an additional potential tens of millions of costs. So is there the potential for TUD after public input to consider just the acquisition of the Phoenix project rather than Pinecrest as well? Thank you.
Thank you, John. Let me address the first thing that you mentioned, that TUD yesterday admitted that the costs were going to go up by $1,000 per household. We didn't say that, you said that. So I don't know where you got the $1,000. We said on average $200 per year for that one. But anyway, so.
Don, 5 years is what you guys said yesterday, $200 a year for 5 years.
Okay.
That's $1,000.
That's how you did your 1,000, okay. Yep.
I'm not sure what
Okay.
the question is.
Well, I thought you meant per year. The second part of that question is, originally in 2017, when PG&E came to TUD, you're right, that what was on the table was Lyons, the main canal, and the Phoenix powerhouse. The general manager at the time, and the managers at the time, myself included, well, it was the general manager's idea that we talked to PG&E about the addition of Pinecrest. So through all of these discussions and thought process, we've come to learn that this system isn't nearly as valuable to us without owning and operating Pinecrest as well. I would not suggest to my board that we should consider anything less than what's on the table today. It's what's in the best interest of this county forever.
Okay. Any other, I see a hand raised in the back.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Pete Campa, representing Groveland Community Services District. And we have the honor and distinction in Groveland of being a customer of the City and County of San Francisco, the first customer on their water infrastructure system as it winds its way all the way through the Bay Area. And the Tuolumne County water from our South County basically built the Bay Area. Without that water supply at the turn of the century, the Bay Area, California technology would not be what it is today. And that occurred with a few decades of political push. And that is the biggest concern that I have and my board has, is going forward, not having control of the water system, the water rights is a huge concern. Even though Groveland, we're a little bit difficult for us to access the ditch system over here on this side of the river. However, every customer in Groveland pays an average of $70 a month just to SFPUC through our rates. In other words, the cost for us to buy water from SFPUC out of their Hetch Hetchy system costs every customer $6 a month right off the bat. So that, and that cost is not in our control. That contract ends in 2034. That may seem like a long way away, but if the contract isn't renegotiated at their terms, then we stand the chance of not having any additional water supply over the 2020 amount that we had in 2020. It's a really odd contract. So we have to come to the table and negotiate at their terms in 2034. So it's very important. Our board at Groveland CST has taken a formal position by resolution in support of the acquisition, and we'll help in any way that we can.
Any other public comment or questions from the public? Okay. Yep.
Dave Schweitzer, ex-manager of PG&E in the Sonora area, and that goes back about 10 years, but I was the Sonora manager when the contract with TUD was implemented. Actually, I came about a year afterwards, and so I know just a little bit about the contract and the relationship, but it's dated stuff. I'll say that up front. One thing I read last week, I think, in the newspaper was that the State Water Resource Board is really evaluating water rights. And they even threw in the line about senior water rights. Have you considered the fact that if we open it up to a change in ownership from PG&E to TUD, do you think that the State Water Resource Board is going to step in and say, now it's time we can look at that senior water right and do something with it?
Yeah, we've heard that too. I don't know, is our General Counsel, Jesse Barton, are you on? Can Jesse tune in? He'll say it a lot better than I will. But yes, we're paying close attention to this, and we're fighting it through Aqua, through mountain counties, through CSDA, through lots of other water agencies. We're going to fight this to the hill. We've heard the same thing.
Yes, to address, Don, can you hear me?
I can sure hear you.
Okay, very good. Yeah, I'm Jesse Barton. I'm TUD's General Counsel, and I've been assisting with this acquisition for several years now. And the question was whether or not there is concern that the State Water Resources Control Board may review this acquisition or the senior water rights in particular and impose some sort of costs or restrictions. And what is incredibly valuable about the rights, not all of the rights, some of the rights that TUD will be acquiring are post-14 rights, and those will be subject to State Water Board permitting authority. But most of the rights, the valuable ones for Pinecrest and Lyons are all pre-14 water rights and are not subject to the State Water Board's permitting authority. And so we don't need to go back to the State Water Board for any permission to transfer those rights. And so their ability to impose conditions on those rights are extremely limited.
Okay, that's good to know, because keep the state agencies out of it if we can. It is still subject to FERC, Federal Energy Regulatory Commission rules and regulations? Yes.
That is correct.
If TUD
yes.
takes over?
Because
so in a sense, if it is, it may not, the operation of Lyons and Strawberry may not differ much because it takes federal authority to make any major changes, correct?
Well, the Phoenix project is a hydroelectricity project.
Right.
And so that is the transfer of that facility is going to require FERC approval, and then it will also require California Public Utilities Commission approval. But those entities do not regulate water rights in the state of California.
How about the dams, Strawberry and Lyons?
The California Division of Safety of Dams regulates those dams for compliance with the various dam regulations, and they also do not regulate water rights.
Okay, thank you. One thing I have heard mentioned a number of times is that this water rights are not readily available. And in checking, and I think it's been mentioned already, the Hetch Hetchy system, of course, is a major water system, and there are 26 water agencies that are fed from Hetch Hetchy, and I don't believe they have water rights per se. They have contract rights, but I differ in the sense that if you have a contract right, as these 26 agencies and I guess the Bay Area have, they're not considered water rights per se in my mind, but am I correct on that?
What you're talking about is the Tuolumne River system. And the system that TUD is going to be involved in, the river system, is the Stanislaus. But, you know, what you're describing there is a very complex situation where the water rights in the Tuolumne River system, there are numerous owners of those water rights. And there are wholesalers that own the water rights, such as San Francisco, TID and MID. And then there are retailers or smaller
Wholesale
entities
customers
within that have contracts for the delivery of water from San Francisco.
Yeah, so you
That's
don't,
about as concise of a
you
summary I
don't
can
necessarily have to have a water right to be assured of the water supply if you have a proper contract, is my point.
Correct.
Okay. The last point was brought up by one of the directors, I think, recently, is that excess water out of Strawberry can be diverted into the North Fork to generate electricity through the Spring Gap project. And I guess that's not resolved as to, because Twamak County has been fortunate in having really a dependable supply of water. The county has never ran out of water, and we're fortunate about that. But is the excess supply can still be used by PG&E for generation of electricity or not?
And after that, that'll be our, we'll have to move on to another question in the audience, but if you could answer that, that'd be great.
Sure. PG&E moves the water from the South Fork to the Middle Fork. It doesn't go all the way up to the North Fork. And then once TD acquires the system is going to be operated, is expected to be operated more on a water needs basis than a power generation basis. When PG&E owns the water in the system, they've operated the system with a focus for hydro generation, but TUD is expected to operate that more on a water supply basis.
I may take issue with that, and unfortunately, I haven't met the PG&E person that's in the back of the room there. I appreciate him being here, but to my knowledge, and when I was manager, our guarantee was that Twamak County had the first right to the water regardless. And so I hesitate to think that people would walk away thinking that PG&E has been diverting water at the request of the county needing the water. That's all.
All right. So thank you guys for the great questions, and just remind everybody that there will be more public forums, and I want everybody to be engaged, but to be respectful of everybody's time. Once we have 3 minutes, we do need to open it up for more public comment. So thank you guys for understanding. Is there any other public comment or questions? Sure. After 2 minutes, you'll hear a beep, and that means you got 1 more minute.
Thank you. First of all, I'd like to, my name is Gary Sipperly. I'm a member of the Twin Arc Community Services District Board, but I'm speaking only for myself. There were some things in the paper that indicated that we don't know what the future is going to be if some other entity should buy this system. That's true. We don't know what's going to happen. If some other entity were to buy it, who knows what they might give us free water back. There might be Santa Claus coming down the chimney next year too. I can't agree more with what both the mayor and Mr. Plummer said earlier. I think it's incredibly important that we do this, that we go forward with this. If we don't, PG&E is going to dump it. That's the only thing that I can see here that's secure. PG&E will divest itself of this system somewhere, somehow. If not us, who? And I think that's a very scary proposition. I urge the TUD and the county to go forward with this purchase. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment or questions? Sure.
I'm Stephanie Seuss. I'm the Development Director for Chicken Ranch Rancheria, and I'm also a resident of District 1. This is the second meeting in probably the 30 years I've been up here that TUD and the Board of Supervisors have actually sat down together. And I really appreciate everyone being in this room. In my time with the tribe, we have been put on notice twice during the drought that we have been under short demand for water. It's no one's fault, it's just the way it is. We've also have worked through exercises or actual events where things have happened on the flume. And so I would strongly encourage you, Mr. Goldenberg, to really consider what happens. It's not a county liability, okay? It's everyone's liability. And I would hope that from here going forward, that maybe some serious consideration be given to everyone sitting in the room to have some more of these conversations, okay? It's not just a rate increase. Because whatever happens in the Board of Supervisors or at the City Council level, whether it's development, whether it's general plan, whether it's zoning, everyone just sits here, makes these decisions, and then turns to the district and says, you provide them with water. You provide them with fire flow. You provide them with green space or that lost water that flows through the ditches. That's part of what keeps this community going, okay? It's incredibly important. I'm not going to get into what the tribe's doing, but they are off on their own mission for their own water supply because they, as a tribe, can't continue to operate with their level of uncertainty for their future, okay? So I would again thank you for all sitting here listening to this, but take this seriously. This is not today, this is not tomorrow. This is more storage, and this is trying to figure out what to go forward. It's not fair for just having it on TUD ratepayers. It would be lovely if every community in Tuolumne County were paying for this, but we're not, okay? That's not how this is set up. But this is the best that can be done today.
Okay. Trying to be cognizant of time because we're scheduled until about 4 o'clock today. If there are no any pressing public comments or questions, I do want to bring it back to the city and to board members. We've all heard each other speak and questions and some stances, but if anybody feels compelled to say or comment any further, this would be your opportunity to before we adjourn the meeting. Sure.
Thank you, Supervisor Kirk. Jeff Kearns, TUD. I just wanted to revisit Mr. Buckley's comment, if he's still here. He brought up an excellent point about the Phoenix and the Lion systems were offered initially and why bring on Pinecrest. And Jesse Barton's still on the line here too, so I'll defer to him with the details. But the most important, the most senior water rights come with the Phoenix, or excuse me, with Pinecrest Reservoir, Strawberry Dam Pinecrest Reservoir. So that's the big reason why we decided to go that route. Correct, Jesse?
Mostly, Jeff. They all have different priorities. The 52 CFS is really the oldest one, the 1851 right. And that is the one that's the 52 CFS direct diversion right that supplies the main Tuolumne Canal on a year-round basis. Pinecrest is important because a portion of the Pinecrest storage is what helps TUD and its customers meet their water supply needs during long, high dry summers. And that's why Pinecrest is necessary to complete the water portfolio, if you will.
Thank you, Jesse.
Any other? Sure.
Steve, would it be worthwhile to go back through the rates real quick there? There was a part of this where it was said that in 5 years our rates are going up $1,000. whereas it's a compounding. So if you could clarify that for us?
Yeah, hopefully this helps. I mean, simple terms, I guess the way I look at it is first and foremost, I mean, what we're looking at, what we're asking the customers for is $200 for next year. Okay, and then the next year after that, we'd like an additional $75. And then the year after that, we would like about $12, then $17, and then that. So the total over the 5 years, he took the 200 times 5, that's 1,000. But I look at, and that's why I presented to all of you the monthly amount, which the monthly amount again is $17, then another $6, then another $1.59, another $1.48 stuff. So at the end of the 5 years, we'll relook at where we're at. I mean, you need to look at your rates every 5 years anyway, in spite of this. But, you know, hopefully 5 years from now, we'll be sitting here, we'll know exactly what we got, how to run it, whether there's additional revenues available, what the world's doing, and know better. But, you know, PG&E, last time we met with them, they asked us, do you have new rates in effect so you can handle this, so you can do this? Because they have a whole lot of agreements that we're going to have to assume. Agreements related to Pinecrest, agreements of some of these other ones. So they're asking us of that, and we're asking them, you know, can you deliver on your side? So that help, Director Boatright?
Yes, it did.
I just have one follow-up question to that. If you can say what cumulatively the monthly goes up for the 5 years, what's that final difference between our bills currently today and what it will be at the end of that 5 years rate increase?
$27.81. $27.81 per month.
Per month.
Will be the cumulative increase from today to 5 years from now.
So, I'm going to create some enemies here. But right now, to me, the TUD board are probably the most important elected officials in the county with what they're dealing with as far as the future of the county is concerned. For those of us who support this acquisition, and I think probably most of us do, how do we help you? What can we do to ensure that you have the public support necessary to make this happen? Because this is absolutely crucial in my view.
Well, one, it's holding meetings like this together. It's getting used to putting a face to the names of all of us. And it's the ability for TUD to tell the story to all you guys about we have nothing if we don't have water. And whether you're a customer or not, I can't stress this enough. This water will put out, if you had a house fire, you don't have to be a TUD customer. We are all in this together. And that's the message that we've wanted to stress. Local control means that we don't have to rely on other people to solve our problems. We can stay very close to our supply line. We are not going to get cut off because the distance is too great. And I guess I kind of look at it, I don't mean to be doom and gloom, but it's just smart when I look at the politics, is that we have to rely on each other. The city, TUD, the county, and community services districts, we have to rely, and we always have. We've got a sense of self-sufficiency and making this water for us, staying in our county. And I hate to be crass about this, but if a junior water right down in Turlock, let's say we have a mega drought, we can use that water first before it goes downstream for beneficial use. So it just seems like for our ability to prosper and be a community and fight fire and respond to each other, regardless if you're a TUD customer or not, we are here for you. And we look at this as kind of like the Three Little Pigs, right? We want to build a house of bricks, not of straw. I mean, let's put it in that paradigm. And that's what you can rely on us. We're really solid behind this. We're a 5-0 on this.
Okay.
David. Oh, sorry.
I just want to reiterate, I am not against this acquisition, okay? And I don't want it to be construed that I am. Local control, we need that, okay? And, you know, I'm concerned about some of the unknowns, you know, because the negotiations are still in process. CDBG, you know, will there be adequate funding perhaps to come from there? But I have a responsibility as a county supervisor to look out for the county's finances. And, you know, if the county ultimately ends up being asked to make a contribution or buy in on perhaps bond debt, I would want to look at that, and that's in the future, right? We're not deciding any of this today, right? And you know, just so everybody's clear, but the county did get into pretty deep trouble with some of their bond debt, you know, because when you finance projects, Law and Justice Center is a pretty good example. You know, the county ended up with bond debt that we're responsible for every year. And so that eats into our ability to pay for law enforcement, the sheriff, many other areas that we're responsible for. So I just wanted to, you know, clarify that so, you know, people understand. Thank you.
So I just want to reiterate my personal support, but I'll be asking the council for something to show support for the TUD board. So that'll be something, Melissa's taking notes right now. Thank you. But I'll be asking for something to come back before the council so we can show our support. And I'm going to ask you a million questions. I get a million questions, so Jaren's feeling it too. So, and then I'll be bugging you to come before our council too. So, okay. That's all. Thank you.
Well, you gave me a good cue, and I'm surprised Lisa Westbrook didn't throw a water bottle at me. You know, on our website, our ourwater.com, is an amazing website. There's more information than you can digest in 2 months. Trust me, I've tried. It is phenomenal what information is in there. So please go there and see that. And again, if you want me to come or some of my team to come to your council meetings or supervisor meetings or special group meetings, just let me know. We'll be happy to show up. Right there in the back, Lisa did bring some FAQs and our little postcard that directs you to our TUCO website.
All right, I'm going to have Supervisor Campbell comment. He wasn't able to earlier, and then I believe Ron Ringen is going to make a comment, and then we'll wrap this up. So.
Am I
Okay.
up?
Yeah, so I've said it so before publicly, but I do think this acquisition is, I do support it in concept. And just to share a little story that I think many of the people in this room have already heard, but for the public's benefit, I participated in a tour of many of the facilities that are being discussed today in connection with the acquisition. And I'll tell you who else was on that tour. So it was me, it was members of TUD board, it was some members of the U.S. Forest Service, a couple other community members, and everyone else on that tour, 2 full busloads, was from a valley water agency. So at that time, I wasn't as familiar with the issue and some of these, what was being proposed by PG&E. But I, just in talking to people and asking around who were on the tour, and I thought, my goodness, why are so many valley water agencies interested in these facilities in Tuolumne County? And I hope that by now that the answer to that question should be obvious to everyone, that they are interested in acquiring the water rights so that they can use them for agriculture in the valley and to serve their customers. And so the point that needs to be drawn from that is that whether TUD administers these facilities or PG&E or an out-of-county water district, someone is going to be in charge of these water resources. And so by keeping them in Tuolumne County, at the very minimum, we have a say. We have an elected board that we can communicate with that's local. We know their faces, but if it's administered by someone out of the county, we don't have that opportunity. It's kind of the difference between working with your cable company. You know, if you have a problem with your cable, you call them and maybe they'll do something about it, maybe not. But at the end of the day, they can tell you to pound stand if you don't like the service they're providing. And that's what we'll have if we have an out-of-county provider for water that's either private or an out-of-county agency. So that's just in a nutshell the benefit that we have by keeping it in-house is that we are able to control our own destiny and have agency over the decisions that are actually made for this water. And so that is what's really appealing about the idea to me and why I'm supporting it.
All right. I'm going to hand it over to Ron Ringen from TUD, and then I'll wrap it up. So, Ron?
I have nothing more to say after that last response. It was right on. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, I'm just going to end it a few things by saying, first of all, thank you to everybody for being in this room, for making this happen, TUD for initiating this conversation. I was sitting here thinking, you know, we're all kind of talking like a little bit monotone because it's the afternoon and we're talking about water rights and blah, 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 blah. Maybe it's not exciting. But then I'm sitting here thinking, when I was a kid, my grandfather used to talk about this, about water and how we don't have water rights and about beetles and fires and all this stuff. And then I run for office, and one of my key things is we got to figure out ways to harness our own water. But me being young and dumb and naive, I started doing the research. I'm like, there's no way we will ever have our water. Start hearing about all these, you know, pre-1914 water rights. So halfway through my campaign 4.5 years ago, I'm like, honestly, guys, I'll fight for it, but there's really nothing we can do. And I talked to people up and down the state, very convoluted, very, you're talking about attorneys and water rights. How boring is that? Now, all of a sudden, with PG&E and with this opportunity, it's not just a once in a generational opportunity. It's a once in a lifetime opportunity to gain our water rights. And so even though the conversation maybe isn't crazy exciting, if you really look back 100 years from now, this is really an opportunity to do something. We don't know what the future holds. We have politicians in Washington who say the world's going to end in 12 years because of global warming. And they're trying to make everybody go green and do all these crazy things. Well, here in Tuolumne County, the world's not ending, but water is what sustains life. And so I don't know what the future holds. I don't know what the climate holds in 5, 10, 50 years, but I do know water is going to be critical no matter what stage we are. And so, you know, sometimes we get into it as community members and as board members and stuff, but I love the fact that we can all hold each other accountable. We can ask the questions. You know, I have some tough questions for TUD as well, but that's all pushed aside. What's important is our water rights. And I think we can all agree and get around that table and support it. And what we need to do really well as elected officials is we have to communicate that to our constituents. Because at the end of the day, all they're going to see is a rate increase. And so we need to be good about communicating that with our constituents, what it means for us, for our future. And I think that's the key point for me. So with that being said, it wasn't as good as Campbell's pitch, but I just wanted to wrap it up with a positive, once in a lifetime opportunity that's in front of us. So I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to be a part of history and make a right. So with that being said, it is 3:51. Look at that. We got done 9 minutes early. So thank you guys. If you want to stay and linger and talk, feel free. But I am going to adjourn the special meeting May 10th. You guys have a great day.